What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode number 226 of the Untame the Wild Soul podcast. I am your host, Elizabeth D'Alto, and this is Sunday Sermon number 23. Today we're talking about choosing love over fear, as in how to actually do it. It's definitely not a new concept. It's something you hear people throwing around as an idea a lot. So I'm really interested in getting into how to do this as a practice. If you're new to the podcast, or this is your first Sunday sermon, these are shorter solo episodes, usually about 10 to 20 minutes in length, where I do oracle readings, share my favorite prayers, poems, or excerpts from what I'm reading. They're like wild and untamed gospel, heart ponderings, and delicious morsels of wisdom to spark your own truth, your own power, and your own love, from my wild soul to yours. In these episodes, I explore creative and inspiring ideas, thoughts, and ruminations for you to be nourished and fed by going into the week. As a person who was raised with religion, another inspiration to create these sermons was to provide a Sunday ritual that's more aligned with my current and ever-evolving spirituality and worldviews. That said, all belief systems are welcome here on the show. My truth, ponderings, and curiosities are simply that, my own. So no matter what your faith is, may you get exactly what you need from listening to this, and may you remember always that everything you've ever needed has always been inside of you. You are made from love, you are love, and you are loved. So as I mentioned, our topic today has to do with choosing love over fear, which actually has to do with that last sentence of the intro to these sermons, about remembering that you are made from love, that you are love, and that you are loved. I get a lot of notes from people telling me how much they love hearing that every week, that they need the reminder, that the truth in the statement feels so nourishing, and that even when the head wants to object, the heart knows it's the truth. So I was thinking about this the other morning at the time of this recording, and I had a little epiphany about choosing love over fear. Again, it's something you may have heard before in some context or another, to choose love over fear. It's a fairly common cornerstone of lots of ancient teachings, wisdom traditions, and faiths. And while it sounds so beautiful and like it should totally work, just choose love over fear, right? Got it. It's much easier to say than it is to do. Or is it? That's what I want to explore today. How do we actually do this? So, like I said, I had an epiphany. And then the funny thing is, a few moments after my epiphany, I remembered that I'd had this same exact epiphany back in September of 2016. So I don't know if that still counts as an epiphany or if that makes it a re-epiphany, if that's even a word. Either way, this is another great example of why we practice things. I practiced what I'm about to share with you for several weeks. Then I let the practice fall away. So here's to keeping some holy consistency around this practice for you and for me. And if you haven't listened to the episode on holy consistency, it's episode number 192, which you can check out at untameyourself.com/episode-192. So let's take a second to talk about what choosing love over fear actually means. It means, like I said earlier, remembering that we are beloved, that we are love, and we are made from love anytime we feel afraid. And allowing our systems to be flooded with that love to crowd out the fear. So to crowd our system with love, here are some things you could do. Pause whatever you're doing or thinking and focus on your breath. With every breath in, imagine that you're creating space in your body, both physically and metaphorically. Like imagine you have this inner landscape that is far more vast than the physical shape of your body could possibly contain. And as you breathe in, this space opens up so that love can flood in. Think of it like this. Your body is like one giant cylinder, like a pipe. And if you've ever seen one of those commercials for Liquid Plumber or Drano or some other pipe clearing solution, they usually show you two pictures. They show you the picture of the pipe all like gunked up and clogged. And that gunk that you see in that pipe is similar to our fears. And our fears are what clog up our systems. So love is like the liquid plumber. When that comes rushing through, it cleans away the gunk, cleans away the fear. So whether you can conjure up the feeling or you can just imagine love flooding your system and feel it that way, maybe there's a color or a texture or a sensation that goes with that for you. Connect with your breath. Allow those in-breaths to create space for love and allow your out-breaths to release the fear. Don't overthink this, just give it a try. This practice is about making love the dominant energy in your system, maybe not 24/7, but when you need it. It might take a few minutes, and you may not even crowd the fear all the way out. But if you're starting out at like 80% fear, 20% love, and you end up even at a 50-50, that's an improvement. We're not going for perfection here. Progress is fantastic. Mantras can be helpful here too, not to keep you from taking action or to distract you, but to fuel your actions with the proper energy. So let's review. There's breathing, feeling, sensing, imagining, choosing better thoughts. All of these things are self-soothing and love-filled ways to choose love over fear. Give yourself the time to really feel the love. And I want to focus on that for a second, because whenever we think we don't have time for easy practices like this, we're thinking too linearly and forgetting that action we take from fear tends to create poor quality outcomes and often creates more work for us down the road or messes to clean up, instead of just taking a few minutes up front to shift the way you feel, which is probably less time than it'll take you later anyway. So believe me, you have the time. Now I want to address something else. There's a lot of messaging in our world about taking action. In some cases, it's about taking big, massive action, or pushing your edges, or doing things that scare you. And there are times and places for those things, of course. But there's also room for wise and gentle action, such as the practice I described above. Wise, because it remembers how powerful of a force love is. Gentle, because it's kinder, and it doesn't require much will or much force to carry it out, and it's not too strenuous. Now, let me preface what I'm going to say next by letting you know that I am not super well-versed in the Bible, but a saying that I am familiar with is one of the Beatitudes that comes from the 3rd verse of the Sermon on the Mount that says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." A lot of people assume meek means weak, and it doesn't. It simply means gentle. One of the reasons people are overworked, overconsumed, and people are inhibited and even dying from stress-related or stress-exacerbated illnesses is the notion that our culture perpetuates that bigger, stronger, and faster are always better, and our views of what bigger, stronger, and faster are very forceful, are very willful, are very masculine in nature. So what if we swapped those definitions out for wiser, gentler, and more loving? What if wiser is bigger because it catalyzes expansion, and gentler is stronger because it takes strength to believe in the power of gentleness rather than sheer force, will, or just trying harder and putting in more effort? And to be loving is to be faster in the sense of a faster path to the highest, truest, and best outcome or result. This can make sense when you consider that our fears drive us towards the goals, outcomes, and results of our conditioning, not of our soul and not of our truths. People cannot punish themselves into real success. And by real success, I mean whatever is the definition for success that lives in your heart, that you make up yourself, rather than the definition that you adopt from someone else or from our culture. Remember, the brain should serve the heart. It should not serve its own conditioning. So that's how and why we choose love over fear. As always, thank you so much for being here with me, for taking the time, for leaving your reviews of the show on iTunes, for sharing the episodes online or privately with your loved ones, but more than anything, for applying what you learn so we can have some impact on the world around us and contribute to creating and living in a world we could be proud of and feel safe and happy about. This was episode number 226. You can visit the show notes at untameyourself.com/episode-226. And in a couple weeks, I've got a big announcement for you. We're changing the name of the podcast. It's bittersweet because I do love the current name, but it's time to evolve. So stay tuned for that and have a beautiful week.